Every night after 3 a.m., one locker in Ridgewood High opens on its own. They say it belonged to a girl who never made it to graduation. Last Friday, it opened for me. Full story, narration, style. Ridgewood High looked normal by day. Brick walls, buzzing hallways, football banners everywhere. But at night, it felt alive. Like the walls remembered everything that ever happened inside them. My name's Chris, and I work part-time as the night janitor. It's not a bad job. Quiet, easy money, mostly cleaning empty classrooms. But the one rule the staff told me on my first day was, never go near locker 103. I thought it was a joke until the first Friday night shift. It was around 2:55 a.m. The building was silent, not even the hum of the vending machines. I was mopping near the science wing when I heard it. A metallic click, then a slow creak. I turned my flashlight toward the sound and saw it. Locker 103. The door was slightly open. No students were around. The school had been empty for hours. I walked over, still holding the mop. Hello? My voice echoed down the hallway. Nothing. I reached for the handle, but before I touched it, the locker door slammed shut, hard enough to make me drop the flashlight. The sound echoed through the whole corridor. I picked up the light, hands shaking. The door was now closed tight, but across the metal, fresh words had appeared in the dust. 3 letters scratched deep into the paint. Run! I left my cart right there and ran to the front exit, but the doors wouldn't open. They were chained from the outside. That didn't make sense. I was the last one in. Then the intercom crackled. A girl's voice whispered through the speakers. Soft, trembling. He locked me in. The sound came from every speaker in the building, then static. I called the principal the next morning and told him what happened. He laughed it off. Old wiring, he said. Probably just interference from the PA system. But when I came back that night, the locker was open again. Inside was a photo, black and white, edges burned. A smiling girl in a cheer uniform, her name stitched on the sleeve, M. Carson. And behind her, barely visible in the background, was a man, standing in the shadows, staring straight at the camera. Someone had drawn X's over his eyes. I took the photo home that night, thinking maybe I'd show the principal. But at exactly 3:03 a.m., my smoke alarm went off. There was no fire, only the smell of burnt plastic coming from the photo. When I looked again, her face was gone, burned out, and on the back, words had appeared, written in ash. Don't let him find me. The next day, I asked around old staff, teachers who'd been there longer. One old math teacher, Mr. Dwyer, finally told me the truth. In 1997, a student named Megan Carson went missing. Last seen during cheer practice. They searched everywhere. Lockers, basement, field, nothing. The janitor back then was fired for negligence. But a week later, he was found dead in the boiler room. They said it was an accident. Mr. Dwyer leaned closer and whispered, Locker 103 was hers. That night, I swore I wouldn't go near it. I even mopped the opposite hall. But at 3 a.m. sharp, I heard the locker door slam open, then again, and again, like someone trapped inside, pounding to get out. The air turned icy. My breath fogged in front of me. And then the intercom came on again. The same voice. This time, louder. He's coming. The lights flickered. My mop bucket rolled across the floor on its own, and from the corner of my eye, I saw a shadow crawl out of locker 103. A girl, hunched, face hidden by her hair, her skin pale and wet, like she'd just crawled out of the ground. She pointed at me and whispered something I'll never forget. You shouldn't have taken it. I dropped the photo, the hallway filled with smoke. I couldn't breathe. Something cold grabbed my arm, fingernails sharp as glass, and shoved me back. I blacked out when I woke up. I was outside on the grass. The fire alarm was blaring. The fire department said the blaze started in the science wing, right near locker 103, but when they opened it, they found the photo inside, untouched, and behind it, another picture, a new one, taken that night. It showed me standing in the hallway with Megan Carson behind, me smiling. The police never found any proof of arson, but Ridgewood High was shut down for electrical issues. They said they'd demolish it soon. But last week, a demolition worker quit after just one night. He told the foreman he heard knocking in the debris pile, 3 knocks, always at 3:03 a.m., and when they dug through the rubble the next morning, they found locker 103 still standing, still closed, with a single handprint on the door, small, black and fresh. After the fire, they sealed the school, but every night at 3 a.m., I still hear her calling my name. The week after the fire, Ridgewood High was quiet. Classes were canceled. Reporters came, snapped photos, and left. They said the cause was electrical malfunction, but I knew better. The fire started exactly where the locker was. Room B103. I'd seen the smoke pour from that hallway myself, and somehow, the photo I'd taken home had reappeared inside the locker, untouched. I couldn't sleep. Every night at 3 a.m., I'd wake up to the faint sound of a locker door creaking open, even though I lived miles away. Sometimes I'd smell smoke. Sometimes I'd hear a girl whisper through the vent above my bed. He's still here. On Wednesday, I went back to the school grounds. They were already boarding up the doors, getting ready to demolish the west wing. But something in me couldn't stay away. I told myself I was just checking, to prove it was all in my head. But the gate was unlocked, and when I stepped inside, the air smelled like dust and burnt paper. The hallway was darker than I remembered. Fire marks still blackened the walls. Every step I took echoed, too loud, like the building was hollow inside. Then I heard it. 3 slow knocks, coming from behind the sealed door of locker 103. My hands started shaking. I said out loud, "Megan?" The knocking stopped. Then a soft whisper answered, "Don't let him find me." The metal handle turned, on its own, and the door creaked open just an inch, enough for cold air to spill out, carrying that same burned plastic smell, and inside a folded note. It was half melted, the edges black, the handwriting small, hurried. "If he asks, tell him I'm gone. Don't let him know I remember." At the bottom of the paper was a name, scrawled in shaky ink, Mr. K. Harland. Maintenance. I went home and looked him up. The name wasn't in any staff records, no mention of a Harland in any yearbooks or payrolls, but there was an article from 1997 at Custodian. Missing after student disappearance. Boiler. Room locked from inside. The photo was grainy, but I recognized the corridor behind him, Ridgewood's west wing, and in the background, blurred but visible, was locker 103. That night, the dream started again. I was back in the hallway, mop in hand. The locker door was open, smoke leaking out like breath. From inside came whispering, dozens of voices overlapping, all saying the same thing. He never left. Then the door slammed, and the numbers on it, 103, began to glow red. I woke up drenched in sweat. The smell of smoke was in my room again, but this time, there were sooty fingerprints on my window, small, like a girl's hand. The next day I went to see Mr. Dwyer, the old math teacher again. He looked older than before, tired, like he hadn't slept either. When I told him about the name Harland, his face went pale. "You found that?" he whispered. Then he shut his office door. He told me the part the newspapers never printed, that Harland had been more than a janitor. He was a former student who'd come back to work there. He'd grown obsessed with Megan Carson. He followed her after practice, left notes in her locker, even called her home. When the principal found out, Harland was suspended, but the night before he was due to leave, the fire happened and both of them vanished. They never found his body, Dwyer said quietly. Only her necklace, melted to the inside of that locker. That night, I promised myself I wouldn't go back, but around 2:45 a.m., the power in my apartment cut out, everything went black. The only light came from my phone, and a new message had just appeared. Unknown number. "You left me there." Attached was a voice note. I hit play, a girl's voice, crying softly, then through the static, "He's looking for me. He's coming for you next." Then a loud clang, metal hitting metal, and the recording ended. I dropped the phone. It was the exact sound that locker made when it slammed shut. The next morning, I drove to the school one last time. Police tape hung across the entrance, but part of it had fallen. I slipped through and walked toward the west wing. Sunlight leaked through the shattered windows. Dust floated in the air like ash. Locker 103 was standing there, door closed, untouched. The number plate was blackened. The paint bubbled from heat, but the lock was missing, and carved deep into the metal were new words. "He's inside." My phone buzzed again, a video message this time. It was from an unknown sender. The thumbnail showed the hallway. Live. Shaky. Like security footage, I pressed play. The camera moved slowly toward locker 103. The door creaked open, smoke poured out, and for a split second, a shape moved inside. A tall, thin man with blackened hands, his face hidden in shadow. He turned toward the camera, and his mouth stretched into a wide, burning grin. Then the screen went dark. A whisper came through the speaker. "It's your turn to clean up." I threw the phone onto the floor, heart pounding. When I looked back up, my apartment lights flickered. The smell of burnt dust filled the air, and on the wall, in black soot, letters began to form, shaky, uneven, like someone writing from the other side. Locker 103, 3:03 a.m. The lights went out completely, and from the darkness of my hallway, a locker door slowly creaked open. I thought she wanted help, but the truth was, she wanted revenge. It had been 3 nights since the last message, 3 nights of whispers in the walls, of locker doors creaking open in my dreams. I'd tried everything, sleeping with lights on, staying at a motel, even leaving town. But every time the clock hit 3:03 a.m., something found me, a shadow, a voice, or the faint metallic echo of that damn locker door. By the 4th night, I knew I couldn't run anymore. If I wanted this to stop, I had to end it. Where it all began, at Ridgewood High. The demolition crew had fenced the building off, but I broke in through a side window. The hallways were half collapsed, the ceiling dripping from last night's rain. The smell of mold and ash mixed in the air, like the school was still trying to breathe. I made my way to the west wing, flashlight trembling in my hand. Every step stirred up soot. My reflection followed me in the cracked trophy cases, pale, sleepless, haunted. When I reached the spot, my stomach dropped. Locker 103 was still standing. Everything else around it, lockers, pipes, even the floor tiles, had melted and warped from the fire. But that one locker looked untouched, like the flames had avoided it. I took a deep breath and grabbed the handle. It was cold, colder than metal should ever feel. The door wouldn't move, so I pulled harder, and when it finally opened, the hinges screamed. Inside was nothing, just a dark, narrow space, empty, except for a single metal key hanging from a hook. A small tag dangled from it, covered in soot. When I wiped it clean, I read the word, boiler, the basement. Of course, that's where they found Harlan's body back in '97. That's where the fire had started. I followed the stairwell down, my flashlight flickering with every step. The deeper I went, the colder it got. Condensation dripped down the walls. The air smelled of rust and smoke, and something else. Something sweet, like rotting flowers. When I reached the boiler room door, my key fit perfectly. It turned with a click that echoed through the empty space. The door opened on its own. Inside, the old boiler sat like a dead heart, huge, rusted, covered in black scorch marks. The walls around it were burned. The floor cracked, but in the center of the room, something was written in white chalk. "I'm still here," and underneath, a circle drawn wide, filled with ashes. I knelt down and touched the ashes. They were still warm. Then I heard it, a soft whisper, right behind me. "Chris." I turned around, flashlight shaking, nobody there. Then a second voice joined in, lower, rough, man's. "You shouldn't have come here." I spun around again. The light hit the far wall and then froze. There, nailed to the concrete, was a photo, half burned. It showed the old janitor, Harlan, and me. Me, standing in the hallway, holding the mop. The same night the fire started. But that was impossible. I wasn't even alive in 1997. The boiler rattled, louder and louder, until the pipes screamed like metal twisting. Steam poured from the cracks, filling the room with heat. Then a shape began to form in the haze. A man, tall, thin, his face blackened and melted, eyes glowing faint red through the burns. He moved like his bones were broken, and when he spoke, it sounded like every word scraped through his throat. You opened her locker. You let her out. He stepped closer. My flashlight dimmed, the beam cutting out completely. Now I could only hear him, footsteps slow and heavy. I stumbled backward. I didn't mean to. She remembers. The words echoed, bouncing around the room. Then came another voice, soft, trembling, overlapping his. He burned me. Don't let him leave again. Light flashed. The boiler's gauge spun wildly. Hissing steam. The temperature soared, and through the fog, I saw her, Megan, her hair dripping wet, eyes hollow, skin blackened by fire. She was standing behind him now, the ghost of a girl, reaching toward the man who'd killed her. He turned, screaming soundlessly. His body caught fire. Again, the flames crawled up his arms, his face, his chest, and he laughed. Then he looked at me through the blaze. You brought her back. He lunged forward, his burning hands outstretched, and everything went white. When I woke up, I was outside, paramedics, fire trucks. The whole west wing was gone. They told me someone called 911, said they saw fire through the windows, but no one else was inside when they arrived. No sign of anyone, no body, just a melted key, and ash in the shape of 2 footprints, one large, one small. It's been a week now, I don't sleep much. But every night at 3:03 a.m., I hear it again, a single metallic click, the sound of a locker door opening, and sometimes, if I listen close enough, I can hear her voice whisper through the air vent. You freed me. Now it's your turn to stay. When I check the mirror, I swear the reflection behind me isn't mine anymore. It's wearing a Ridgewood janitor's uniform, and its hands are burned black.